About 63 self-storage facilities, raised about 40 million of outside equity, built a real estate private equity company and a management company, Bolt Storage, that's 1.3 million last month of revenue across our portfolio. Somewhere did a little over 1.5 last month of revenue. I announced the fact that we bought a $400,000 domain name. I raised $20 million and bought it for $52 million. I thought this guy was an influencer. I'm a good operator. If I make good decisions, this can be not a $1 million a month business, but a $10 million a month revenue business. People work freaking hard for their money, man. They're trusting me with their cash. That's an intense blessing.
Nick, I know a lot of people know who you are, but I want you to just give a brief background on who you are, because I really want to get to the meat and potatoes, which is the last year, Somewhere acquisition, your book coming out, all those things. But first, set us up.
Yeah, first, Nick, thanks for having me, man. I love your stuff. You've accomplished a lot and you're sharing the wisdom, which is rare. So appreciate you. I graduated, started a moving and storage company, learned the ropes through suffering of entrepreneurship in a tough business. That was in 2011, built a storage facility from the ground up, started in 2015, opened it in 2017. That one deal was a massive win for me and my family and future generations of Hubers. Got serious about storage. We bought 63 self-storage facilities, raised about 40 million of outside equity, built a real estate private equity company and a management company, small. Dabbled, started a RE Cost Seg in 2022. That business has gotten pretty large, 50 plus employees, $750K plus a month of revenue. Picked up opportunities as they've came at me. Got involved in Somewhere back in 2021 when the business was about a year old as a customer first, hired a few people internationally. Then I started talking about the business as an affiliate, and then I bought in a year later as a minority partner. And then I had the opportunity to buy the whole business in a pretty big deal for me, a uncomfortable deal. It closed on May 1 of last year. So yeah, here I am.
All the companies combined, kind of what's aggregate top line revenue, number of employees?
Oh, that's tough because it's changing. I think if we talk about all the small ones, the eight smallest ones, a total of $1 million a year of revenue. They're all
highly profitable.
No, some of them are stressful. Yeah, business is hard, right? But yeah, they're profitable. They have a future. RE Cost Seg is doing $750K a month of revenue. So if you annualize that, you can kind of look at it. We have Bolt Storage that's 1.3 million last month of revenue across our portfolio, and Somewhere did a little over 1.5 last month of revenue.
One of the things that I really like about you is the way you started. So Chris Kerner, my business partner, mobile home park guy, you and him had like a very similar origin story. He started writing on like Reddit and Quora, the entrepreneur threads and subreddits. Yeah. And like, that's where he cut his chops. And then he moved on to Twitter and all the other social platforms, and he's grown a lot. You did the same thing, right? Like you started kind of on Reddit and then you obviously expanded out. I think the thing that's the most impressive to me is the way you've built your distribution, because, and I know you preach the sweaty model, but if you go to venture capital, you go to Silicon Valley, 50% of the dollars they raise are spent on acquiring customers. And another word for acquiring customers is distribution. You went and sort of built the distribution and then decided, hey, these are the things I'm going to bet on. Was that purposeful from the beginning? Or was it something where you're like a year in thinking, oh, I guess I kind of have this audience. I should figure out how to leverage the distribution.
So nothing in my life has been purposeful. I didn't study entrepreneurship or watch Shark Tank right before I started my company. If I would have, I probably would have started a different business and I wouldn't have succeeded. I would have went and got a job. I started with a podcast called The Sweaty Startup, first episode in December of 2018. And I had nowhere to promote it. So I started writing on Reddit. They're mean as hell on Reddit. I honed my skills. Moses Kagan talked me into getting on Twitter late 2019, about a year later. And, that's where I found kind of what I'm good at, which is writing. And I luckily, the step that everybody tries to skip, I had luckily, cut my chops and actually done some things in business leading up to that. So I could, share and talk about it. But it's not the same growing an audience today. So if anybody says I want to get on Twitter and grow an audience, I'll say good luck, because it's not for that anymore.
Well, why? Tell me why. Tell me why.
The algorithm is not the same. You can't write a thread and get it seen by a bunch of people. You can't post links. It's just a different platform now, and it's really hard to grow. Really, really hard to grow.
Your kind of growth philosophy, which pissed a lot of people off, was just all eyeballs are good eyeballs, right? I'm a huge funnel. And then even if I bring somebody in because I tweet about the blue-haired people that I hate, eventually they're going to see something of mine where they're like, oh, this guy has some substance behind it. And then they'll move down the funnel and eventually they'll kind of make a purchasing decision. That's my synopsis taken from things I've heard you say and just my own observations. Would you say that's fair?
I'm just a goofball, man. I got a weird sense of humor. I'm a pick. I like goofing off with my friends. And so when I can make it, just blows my mind that I can make a tweet sitting here in Athens, Georgia, on my couch, on the toilet, wherever, and somebody somewhere gets so angry at what I tweeted in 240 characters or whatever the limit is now, that they get fired up and pissed off about what I tweeted. That just blows my mind. I've never read a tweet and gotten fired up enough to really get upset. If somebody has the mental instability to actually be able to read a tweet and not get fired up, I'm just going to poke that bear because it's funny and fun.
You're so good at it, though.
The other half of that is that, look, I have some unique values and unique beliefs. I have a lot of liberal views. I love living in a little college town with weird people and craft beer and live music. I think everybody should be able to do whatever the heck they want. But I also have some conservative views about, business and hard work and discipline and raising a family. And I'm not afraid if people hate that. In my opinion, if you try to be loved by everybody, then nobody's going to give a shit about you.
Yeah, you've said that a lot. I mean, you definitely take sort of a Donald Trump-esque playbook to it, where it's like, okay, cool, I get eyeballs, but eventually people are going to get to know me, and they're actually going to see me for what I am. They're not just going to take this one tweet. And the people who do take the one tweet and have a perception of me, like, screw them. It's not like I care about them.
Yeah.
Dude, I have to tell you this story. So I've got 4 boys under 11. And a couple of years ago, I read a tweet of yours that I started to roll my eyes at, and then I actually implemented it with my family. So you were talking about your boys fighting or something like that. And you're like, whenever my boys are fighting, I pull them aside. Right. And it was like, oh, cool. We got
What team are you on? What team are you on?
Yeah. What team are you on? You said to them, guys, what team are we on? And they're like, well, Team Huber. And at first I kind of rolled my eyes because I'm like, okay, cool. Parenting advice from the guy who's got a kid who's 6 years old. But then I have implemented it with my family. I've got 4 boys. And like every time they fight now, I'm like, guys, what team are we on? We're Team Haluski. Like, yeah, we're Team Haluski. It's such a powerful way to shift the thinking, especially like even in your kids and with boys, right? Like boys are hyper competitive. Like they're going to fight. They're going to have issues. But at the end of the day, you want them to be on the same team.
Yeah, man. You can't stop it. My boys drive me nuts because they are not happy unless the other one's upset. This is the way it is.
All right. So you built up this profile, which was awesome. But because of the way you built it up, you garnered a lot of hate. When you decided that you were going to take on somewhere, did you kind of regret the way that you built your profile? Were you like, oh my gosh? Because now you shifted from like, hey, I'm just kind of a private nobody, I have some small businesses, to boom, $50 million acquisition. And you kind of got a target on your back. Like people want to root for other people to lose, especially when they start coming up in the world because they're jealous. Did that ever creep in your mind where you're like, I should have done this differently?
When I bought the company and I announced the fact that we bought a $400,000 domain name, and I announced the fact that I raised $20 million and bought it for $52 million and had those like the holy shit, I thought this guy was an influencer. Now he's doing something like this. It brought in more leads to somewhere than the business could handle. It broke the entire business. It broke it in a good way, in a bad way, because we had a lot of unhappy customers because our business was used to doing $1 million a month and it did $1.6 million in May.
Oh my gosh.
So it broke everything.
May of 23?
24. Right when I announced the acquisition. So no, there's no regret because those eyeballs, it was a great thing for Somewhere.
Quickly, just give a broad overview. What is Somewhere? How big is it? What's your core offering?
Yeah, we have 160, management, recruiters, account managers all over the world. We structure our business like teams. So as a customer, you go into your account manager, she or he has 6 to 8 recruiters on their team, and they recruit all over the world for all different needs that your business has. One's a technical recruiter, one's an exec recruiter, one's a South African sales and customer service and finance specialist, one's in LATAM on ops, marketing, graphic design, whatever it might be. And we are the growth partner of a business. So we've kind of transformed over the last year from being, hey, we'll find you an executive assistant in the Philippines, to, hey, we're going to build you a worldwide team, whether it be a financial analyst in Egypt, to a, head of finance in South Africa, to a engineer in Colombia, or a draftsman, AutoCAD specialist, whatever it might be. Our core offering is to build worldwide teams for companies. That's our core offering, because it's really hard to hire Americans, and you can hire phenomenal talent for $1,500 a month in other areas of the world.
I mean, I think it's just really hard to hire in general. The biggest value prop is like the ROI that you can get. If I hire for a comparable position, 50 grand a year, and I can get it for 20, all of a sudden I've got more to invest in the business for the same quality at a much lower price.
Yep.
You said it was a career defining decision for you. Like, why? You're young. Like, why is this a career defining decision?
There's this theme throughout my life that anything I've done, I've not been qualified to do. I didn't have permission to start a real estate private equity company. If I'd have tried to go get a job from Sam Zell, he would have said, no, you can't work for me, Nick. But I still went out and raised $40 million and bought $100 million worth of self-storage. I didn't know what I was doing. It worked. We made some good decisions. The business is in a really good spot. When I'm, 30, 34 years old and my partner comes to me and says, hey, Nick, I'm thinking about selling 51% of my business to Andrew Wilkinson at a $47 million valuation. You want to sell half your shares and make, almost $4 million cash? And I'm like, okay, well, I can get out of the best business I've ever been in. I can divest some of my shares and take a win that can build me a big house and get me a sports car, whatever, or I can try to get more of it. And so I came back to Marshall and said, hey man, I don't want to sell half, and I actually want to be the one to buy your shares instead of Andrew Wilkinson. Let's make a deal.
So this is the thing I'm the most interested about. I'm not going to say I was in the same situation, but I had multiple companies. I ran them in 2020. I can't remember the year. Combined, we did about $30 million in top line revenue. Call it $3 million in bottom line.
That's really similar to That's really similar to my portfolio size. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but at that point, I was like, I grew up exceptionally poor, and I had some opportunities right before rates started going in. I kind of freaked myself out, and I was like, rates are going to rise, asset value is going to come down. I better sell while the selling's good. And so I sold my medical billing company, and I am selling my home health and hospice company. I'm super grateful for it because, like, quote unquote, secured the bag. And like you said, generations of Haluskis will be grateful for that opportunity. But I've gotten to this place now where I'm like, okay, well, now what? And I'm thinking a lot about what's my next big swing going to be? Because I'm almost 40, but I'm still young. I can do a lot. And I think there are a lot of entrepreneurs who are even listening to this and thinking, yeah, what is my next swing going to be? How did you decide? Like, what were you seeing within somewhere that you were like, okay, cool. I got a nice lifestyle business. I'm making maybe call it $1 million a year. I'm going to risk it all, pushing it all on black, and I'm going to go all in on somewhere.
I know that somewhere has the potential, if well managed, to be not a $52 million valuation company, but a massive company. I'm talking hundreds of millions of revenue. It's that kind of potential, that kind of market.
Why? Like, what about it were you seeing that you're like, oh, it's currently 52? Like, what revenue was it doing at the time? You said it did $1 million in the month of May.
About $1 million a month of revenue when I acquired it.
It was a $12 million top line business. Let's say it was really profitable and you're doing $5 million bottom line. I don't know. I'm just guessing. It's a 10x multiple $50 million business, right? Is kind of the ballpark that we're playing in. Was it because it was growing so quickly? Were you like, oh, we're experiencing 20% month over month growth? Or was it just you were seeing this massive trend in outsourcing talent? Like, what was it exactly that for you was the catalyst?
It was a 3.5-year-old business that was doing $1 million a month of revenue. It was growing exceptionally fast. And I just saw what it did to my business. I went from a mindset as an entrepreneur in 2020 of, hey, everybody on my team is in America, every single person. To hire somebody new and to grow my business takes $50,000 a year. And that's for an entry-level person. To hire an executive, God forbid, if I can afford them, it's $150,000 a year. I went from that to being able to make 5 hires who are specialists for the same money. And when you can do that, the growth, it just changes everything about how you think about business. If you can manage these people, like, look, there's difficulties. If you can manage them, if you can, keep track of everything, if you can really make sure that everybody's productive inside your business, it's a total game changer. And I know it's not going to get easier to hire Americans. I know that.
Why do you think no one's built a $100 million overseas talent company yet?
They have, absolutely.
They have?
Oh, hell yeah. Athena.
Tell me about it.
Athena's doing 60 million ARR, probably worth $500 million if they went public. They just do only executive assistants in the Philippines.
Only executive assistants
in the Philippines. They're not doing any team building. They're not doing any corporate accounts. I mean, we have shifted our focus over the last year to literally helping companies build their entire teams. And we're going to do, with 5 different clients this year, we're going to do more than 30 hires for them. We're going to help them build their entire company. That only goes up as you start building teams. So yeah, there's many BPOs. We're going to build a full team for you. We're going to put them in an office.
What's a BPO? Business partner organization?
Business process outsourcing means like we're going to take a function of our company and put it in an office in the Philippines. If you go to Manila, there are high rises full of BPO organizations that are the middlemen between Visa, MasterCard, Apple, and these call centers. And many of them are worth $100 million plus.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's a big business.
So did you just see, I'm able to differentiate because I have a distribution channel? It's like, okay, this is a known thing. There are already companies this size. We're growing exceptionally fast. I've got the experience from it because I know how much it's revolutionized my business. And I have the distribution channel. Like, were those kind of the components that got you to a place where?
Yeah, that's exactly it. Like, hey, look, this is a good business. This is a good business model. I'm a good operator. I can grow this thing. And over time, if I make good decisions and I build the right team, this can be not a $1 million a month business, but a $10 million a month revenue business.
So when you found out Andrew Wilkinson was looking or sniffing around the business or had made an offer, I don't know kind of where the process was. Did you know that Marshall was like in the mode of selling, or was this news to you?
That was the first time when he called me and said, "Hey Nick, we need to talk." He said, I got something to talk to you about. I had the first thought came in my head is like, holy shit, to get an offer to sell. But when he called me, it was the first I'd heard that he was even interested in selling.
Because when was that? Like, when did you get that call?
Late October 2023.
Okay, so we're talking like 6 months in between when you got that call and when you closed in May, or late April, whenever the close was.
April 30th, May 1st, yeah.
How did you go from a $47 million valuation to $52 million? Like, what
revenue went up?
How did that work?
Revenue went up as we negotiated the deal.
Oh, yeah. Is that how these are valued, just off of top line because bottom line's so good?
No, like I valued the company on what money it was making. It made more money. Between October and January, the business kept growing. Yeah.
Do you feel like you paid a premium for it, or do you feel like it was baked in, like it was market price? Or because some people would look at it and be like, "Hey, look, why are you drinking your own blood? You built this company off." And I'm not saying you. I know Marshall was a part of it, but a lot of the distribution was built off of you posting about it and driving people to it. It's like, okay, you built this company. Why now pay a premium valuation for it?
I think starting from scratch was not something I was interested in. It's been a great deal. I don't regret a thing. If that tells you anything.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
All right. So like I said, kind of similar situation to you. The most money I've ever raised, let's just call it mid 7 figures, 5 million, 6 million, somewhere in that ballpark, from investors. You had to go, and you probably raised more than that because you were buying these large real estate deals, and that just takes more capital. But for an enterprise like a business, 5 or 6 million is the most I ever raised. You had to raise $20 million for this. And then you had to take out, sounds like about $10 million of debt from what I've done in the bit of research I've done.
I borrowed $9.38 million from Marshall as a seller note directly to me.
Oh, so that's the debt financing.
18% of the company I borrowed from Marshall to me, and it's backed by the business itself. So it's not like a personal guaranteed loan. He didn't give me any cash. He gave me the equity, and he holds that equity as collateral to the loan itself.
Did you go to Andrew Wilkinson and be like, "Hey, look, man, I know you're going to buy it, but would you rather just help me fund it?" Or at that point, was he like, "Nah, that's not enough"?
I tried to get him to invest, and at that point, he thought that AI was going to kill the business, and he had no interest in investing.
Wow. Okay, so you raise 20 million, and then you do this seller note. Did you sign any personal guarantee?
No, I needed almost 30 million to buy 57.25% of the business from Marshall and Jomer, the two founders. I was trying to organize and orchestrate a system where it was worth it for me, and the carrot at the end, meaning I get all my investors paid back, the business grows, I own as much as possible of this company. I already own 12.75%. I needed my private equity tranche, meaning the 20 million in cash that I gave Jomer and Marshall, was 39.25% of the business. I needed to raise that in private equity, and I could only get a promote on that, meaning I get everybody their money back. I'm going to get 20% of the ups, basically.
Oh, interesting.
So I raised all that money, there's no pref, there's no fee. It's just they get every bit of cash flow from that 39.25% of the business until they're made whole. And then above that, if they invested less than $1 million, I get 30% ups. If they invested $1 million or more, I get 20% ups. So I raised from 39 people, an average of over 500K per person, A couple big fish came in to invest. It was super stressful. I went out and pitched them all on how to do this. I had no investment bank working with me. I hired my own attorneys to put all the documents together to orchestrate this deal. And I set up a deal where if this business grows, I'm going to own about 34% of the company if I get everybody paid back.
Okay, so you've got 12.5% at the time. You need to raise the
12.75.
Okay, and then you need to raise another 20 million to buy the 39% out. I'm just rounding here. And the way that it currently works is that $20 million, every bit of cash flow that you distribute goes to those investors first until they get their money back. And then there's like a pro rata split of, depending on how much they put in, either 30% or 20% to you and then the rest to them.
Yep.
Okay. I've been thinking a lot about this because I'm kind of toying with the idea of raising some money and going bigger in the healthcare space, buying a larger acquisition. And one of the things that I like constantly think about is anytime you're raising money, you're giving up control. That's what's always freaked me out about raising money is like expectations go up and you lose control. Are you able to?
I didn't lose any control. I control everything.
So there's like decision-making control, right? But well, I guess let me ask.
There's these two tranches. They're both LLCs. They both have different promotes, right? That bought in under $1 million investors, the over $1 million investors with the different promotes. I own all the common shares of those. They own the preferred shares. The preferred shares get the cash flow first until they're made whole, and then most of the cash flow after they're made whole. But the common shares vote. I own those.
They have no recourse.
They have no voting rights. They have no recourse. They just get all the cash flow until they're whole from that entire tranche.
Wow, man. How did you orchestrate that? Most investors are going to be like, nah, I want some type of recourse. I want a board seat, or I want, something to say like, if Nick's royally screwing this up, I can get him out of there.
Yeah, that's the good thing about having the network that I had from raising, 40 million across all my real estate, investments, and knowing how to do it and having a really good plan when I bought the company, so that when I got on these meetings, I'm like, hey, look, we're going to grow this business. It's going well. But here's what I think we can do. Obviously, nothing here is guaranteed. And you're going to get all the cash flow and 80% of the upside, but you're going to have no say. And I'm going to control this thing. And you're riding along with me.
You said it was super stressful as you were like talking to people trying to close this deal. Was it ever stressful because of social media? Like, was it ever stressful because were they saying, hey, I'm not interested because you tweet too much, or you're too open, or I'm worried about some key man risk because if you do something really stupid because you're so closely associated with it, the value of the business goes down. Like, has that been a part of those conversations at all?
Look, a lot of people said no. Like I approached 500 people to ask about this investment, and 39 said yes. So yeah, look, there were a lot of things people didn't like about the business. People said, you're just a contingency-based recruiting firm. People said, you're paying too much. People said, I don't have a board seat. People said, you're not putting in enough of your own cash. You're not making a big enough investment at the beginning. Other people said that didn't matter. But I found 39 people who trusted me and the vision and raised the money. And I'll warn you that once you go out and raise that capital to make a deal like this, the stress is just on a different level. The pressure is on a different level. If it was all my money, if it was all my money, if it was all my own money, I'd feel one way about it, and I'd be like, okay, let's see what happens here. When other people's cash is on the line, it's for me, it's more scary. I don't know. People say, oh, it's just other people's money. We don't care. For me, I would rather go bankrupt myself. I'd rather Nick Huber go bankrupt, go get a job, start over, build from scratch, than this deal go sour and me lose $20 million of other people's money.
Have you ever heard someone say like, oh, OPM, other people's money?
It's not how I feel.
I think that's a defining characteristic of someone who's going to be a successful entrepreneur is like, yeah, if you feel like, well, other people's money, it's probably not the person you want in a leadership role. Or
I don't know anybody who truly feels that way. The reputational risk, just people work freaking hard for their money, man. They're trusting me with their cash.
Dude, I agree with that. I've had moments over the last 2 years where either, people have wanted me to invest, or I invested and I lost some money, and like comments are made about, oh, well, yep, stuff happens. Like, oh yeah, you lost your money, almost like it's flippant. And my response is, because they don't understand it, but my response is like, I don't think you understand how hard it is to accumulate $100,000, $500,000, $1 million, $10 million to put into a deal. It's really hard. If everybody could do it, they would have done it. And then to put it into something thinking you're going to get a return and it goes belly up, like that's a big deal. Now I got to go talk to my wife and let her know, or I got to go look and make sure that our portfolio is balanced the way that I want it to be. Like it's not just, oh, well, you had some money to burn, so you're fine. You lost that investment. It's like, no, you don't understand the.
Maybe that's how the crypto world feels about it, but I don't know any private equity owner who raises other people's capital to buy real estate or businesses or whatever that doesn't feel like a very serious responsibility that comes with that.
What did you think of Andrew Wilkinson's critique about AI ruining the space? Because I have the same concerns. I'm playing with operator deep research. I'm in the weeds with AI right now, and I'm like, oh man, this is some really good technology.
Yeah, I'm taking it very seriously. I'll push it aside and talk down to it on Twitter all day, but I would be pretty foolish to, like, Andrew Wilkinson's a great friend of mine, a mentor. Him and I are close. I would be foolish not to listen to a guy who's smarter and more experienced than me. Like, I'm not that arrogant.
What are your thoughts on it? Give me some of your thoughts.
My general thoughts are, I'm watching it closely. I am afraid of it. It's on my radar closely, but it's nowhere near close enough to actually replace a human being today.
All right, now's the part of the show where I feel the most uncomfortable, but my therapist says I need to face my fears. So here we are. I've started a newsletter and I want you to subscribe. And what you're going to get every single week are the aggregated conversations from that week that I have on this podcast with an overview of what their business actually looks like. I'm also going to throw in a review of 1 or 2 businesses that are listed for sale. I'll give you my opinion on whether or not the EBITDA multiple is good, or there's customer concentration, or there's red flags or green flags. And then lastly, I'm going to give you one piece of actionable advice every single week on how to buy your first business. So click the link below, subscribe to my newsletter, and let's get back into the show.
I know because I'm trying to implement all these tools into my company. The demos are amazing. Their wow factor is amazing. You get in and watch it work and you're like, son of a.
Yeah. It's a really cool efficiency gain. Like you're able to turn 1 employee into maybe 1.5 or 2 employees. And for some specific positions, you're able to outsource it. But yeah, I'm in the same boat. I don't see it yet getting to the place where it can actually take a full-time employee position. I mean, there are some cool things. After hours answering services, that's been really cool. I've seen AI answering calls and then redirecting those calls, but not yet have I seen it actually replace people. Deep research is the closest I've seen to like, oh, this is like an entry-level analyst, but I still have to do all of the work in order to produce the outcome.
I've had friends who say, like, Nick, you got to watch this, and they'll pull up their phone, they'll start talking to their AI, and at the end of the conversation, I'm like, that was the dumbest thing I've ever just listened to. Andrew, like, I love Andrew. He pulled up his phone on Twitter and he started talking to his AI that he built about making a reservation. I'm like, nobody would put up with that.
I saw that video. I was like, dude, is he in a hostage situation?
Elon is talking to Joe Rogan on February 28th episode, and he starts talking to his AI and I'm like, guys, the wow factor's here, but ain't nobody wanting to do this. And in my storage business, every phone call is worth $500. Ain't no way I'm trusting AI to answer the phone.
Right.
In a roofing business, every phone call is worth $600. Ain't no way we're trusting AI to answer the phone.
This is the way I think about it right now. I think people are seeing the opportunity of AI, right? These things come out and you're like, oh my gosh, AI can answer this question. And quickly you go to the end state where if AI is basically what we hoped Siri would be when it first came out. But if AI can produce this report for me quickly, oh man, I'm going to be able to replace a full-time employee. But it's the last like mile that's the hardest to actually implement. And so I think those people get really, really excited about the opportunity, where I think people, and I'm not saying you, but potentially like you, who are like, call me when it's ready. I do think that when it's adopted, it's going to be adopted very quickly. And there's going to be an arbitrage for 6 months, maybe a year, because people have been up to speed with it. And then once it's finally game time, they can implement it because they've been thinking about, how do I put this process into place? Where would I actually plug it in? What's the software I would use to track usage? Who would I replace? How would I implement the SOP to train the AI? And then everybody's going to catch up, right? But there's going to be this kind of year time where they can still charge old prices with new efficiency until the new prices catch up with the new efficiency. Is sort of my thinking.
We're building an AI training module that's an add-on at somewhere for every new hire. Like at the end,
Wow.
you pick somebody and they're like, and we say, hey, for $500, do you want us to put them through a 2-week intensive AI training and make them 50% more effective at their job? You're pretty silly to say no to that.
Yeah.
So yeah, look, like, I think the main hesitance of hiring internationally is the language barrier. They can't quite speak and they don't quite understand our culture, like us, as well as us. South Africa is a game changer when it comes to that, by the way. building literally executive teams at all my companies in South Africa. But AI is going to help these folks with the things that they struggle with most. In a way, like when the lawnmower was invented, it didn't put the lawn care companies out of business. It actually helped them make more money and be more effective. I'm going to be on the cutting edge of AI. And when it's ready, we're nimble. We make decisions quickly. We're good operators. So, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Totally
I don't know what's going to happen.
I think nobody knows what's going to happen. People think they know what's going to happen, but ultimately,
I've been listening to Elon Musk tell me full self-driving is coming the next year for 20 years now.
Dude.
What he does for humanity is amazing, but these tech enthusiasts need to shut their computer, go outside and touch some grass sometimes.
It's been a shift for you to go from, all right, I've got these smaller companies, to now you've got to hire executives. You hired Zach Prince at Ari Koseg, which, dude, when you pulled that hire, like blown away, just because he's so high caliber, and you can like write him off and say, well, he was crypto and his company went bankrupt, whatever. The dude was a billionaire for a period of time and built a company that was worth billions of dollars. BlockFi. Like, I don't care what ended up happening. He didn't commit fraud, right? But that's incredible. You went out and snagged him. You got him. You then go take down somewhere, $50+ million. And you've hired I can't remember his name, but you've hired an operator to be the CEO of that company as well. Talk to me about the shift to go from I'm sweaty startup guy to now I'm, air conditioned white collar guy.
It's really, really hard, and it'll humble you hiring executives. Like, I thought a year ago that I knew a lot about business and hiring. I've been humbled. I've learned a ton, and I am better, but I realize now how much I have to learn about building teams and scaling companies. Hiring executives and people to lead divisions of your company, it's hard, man. It's hard. Very rare for somebody to be able to go into a meeting, figure out what's happening incorrectly, spot it, think of a solution, and then tell everybody that solution. Even the executives that I hire, 1 in 10 can actually do that. Like, I feel like I can do that.
Or to go into a meeting, spot where something is wrong, and get everybody who's in that group, the decision makers, to come together and, like, as a group, identify a solution. It's a very different skill set. That's why I always roll my eyes. I laugh when I see new entrepreneurs who are like, yeah, I'm going to buy a business and I'm going to hire an operator. I'm like, you have no idea. First of all, business isn't big enough for you to quote unquote hire an operator. It's a totally different skill set, operating a business and then managing managers.
Yeah. So Zach Prince left, by the way, and we're hiring CEO, COO in South Africa.
No way.
His last day was February 23rd.
I'm assuming, are you meeting this executive team in Africa? Like, are you actually going to fly down and meet them?
Yeah, I got a trip on the books, yes. But look,
that's pretty cool.
Zach is a stud, still a great friend of mine. He got an offer that he could not refuse, opportunity from his previous network. And he also did amazing things with Ari Koseg in the 1 year that he was CEO. But when he left, we decided, hey, we're going to build this entire company. We're going to build this entire company internationally, including executives.
I mean, how can you not? Especially, like, not only have you taken this big bet on somewhere, but you've also seen, hey, I know what works and I know what kind of value this is going to provide us. It's a competitive advantage.
I can hire, and I've done it. I've hired a head of sales at Bolt Storage in South Africa for $4,500 a month base.
Jeez.
Who has built revenue teams and was a CRO at his previous position. Hired a head of finance at somewhere in South Africa who was a controller of a 600-person company, $5,000 a month. I've hired my RevOps specialist, who is a HubSpot wizard, and one of the best operators I've met is an Indian South African guy named Dippin. Our head of sales at Ari Koseg, Ivan in South Africa. Sales managers, sales team, revenue team, marketing team, recruiters. We've hired 40 recruiters in South Africa over the last year. We rebuilt the team there.
What do you look for in leaders? Like, what are your most important attributes, or like, what are the things that you look for?
I try to find somebody who's done it before. Man, it's hard. I've been humbled by this game over the last year of trying to pick operators and managers.
Where did you miss? Tell me where you missed. I mean, you don't have to name names, but like, what do you feel like?
Yeah, I mean, look, it's just really hard in an interview process and in a vetting process to figure out if they have it, if they have that. And you can get recommendations from people who tell you that they have it and then realize later that they don't. But I can tell pretty quickly when I get in the trenches with somebody. So I either like promoting from within, getting people. And the great thing about hiring in South Africa is that I can bring somebody in the door for $4,000 a month. And within a month or two, I know if they're an all-star or not, and I can say, okay, like it's time to make 6K a month, and you're on a path, and here's the path. It's whereas hiring a United States executive, you're gonna be on the hook for 200 grand base plus bonus plus a severance plus all these, FICA and benefits and all the other crap.
I cut my teeth in healthcare. And so my home health and hospice company, $12 million a year, had over 300 employees. So it's just a very service heavy business, right? We're not like one of these tech companies where we've got $1 million in revenue per employee. We're very low on the revenue per employee side of things.
Yeah.
So I've had to learn how to hire. And the biggest thing I've learned in hiring is like, it's a freaking crapshoot. Number one, like you just don't know. They can have the best resume in the world. You hire them and it's like 50-50. But number two, your best people come from your best people. Like for me, that's been the biggest thing. And that's why I think any leader that I've hired, because I've hired leaders of different businesses, is they have got to be able to recruit. They've got to be able to retain. They've got to be able to inspire, and they've got to drive results. Like those are the 4 things they have to do as a leader. Because if they can recruit, retain, and inspire, then I know they're sales, they're a salesperson. Life is sales. Whether you're selling somebody to like bring you new business or whether you're trying to keep people on your team, you've got to convince them and sell them on your vision, that you're the leader. And if they can do those things, then I know they're going to go get their best people, right? So it's like, I try to hire leaders who I know have a good network. And that's how I've used Twitter as well, is like, I've always got a bench of like 4 or 5 people that I know at any given moment. If I had an opportunity, I can go and kind of pluck these people. But it took me a while to like realize that piece. Is it like, that's just such an important aspect to leadership.
I'll add a 5th one, and that's being able and comfortable to fire people quickly.
Yeah, that's actually really good.
Chris Powers told me, I was complaining maybe 2 years ago. I was complaining to him about one of my employees. I was saying, Chris, he keeps messing up here. I'm trying to help him here. And he goes, Nick, you need to fire the guy. And I'm like, what are you talking about, Chris? It's my busy season. We're doing more than ever. He's working 60 hours a week. I can't fire him. And he goes, you need to fire him tomorrow, A. And if he's still here in 6 months, you got a problem, because your culture at your company falls to the level of incompetence that you tolerate. So if you tolerate C players, your entire company becomes a C player organization. So he said, Nick, you can either let your shitty people go or watch your great people walk away.
It's totally true, man. I've had to learn how to fire fast. I used to think that was just, if somebody doesn't get it, fire them fast. But now I look at it and I'm like, all right, there's 2 options. Either they're not going to fit long-term, in which case I fire them fast, or I didn't set them up for success. And even if I didn't set them up for success, there are moments where it's like, I'm sorry, I wish I could have set you up for success, but this position needs you to be successful without me having to like jump in. But I kind of like, I try to parse it in between those 2. And if I know they're not going to be a long-term fit, like they're gone. If I know that they're a good long-term fit, but I didn't set them up, I do work with them. But you've got to be quick. Like you've got to churn them out quickly. Otherwise it breeds complacency like you're saying, bleeds complacency with the rest of the team.
100%.
Somewhere has been doing a fantastic job. And anytime a company's doing really well, it inspires a lot of competitors to enter the market, because there's obviously a market for it. They can make money, there's margin, et cetera. And so there's been a lot of other smaller staffing companies, overseas talent companies that have popped up because they're trying to ride the same wave. And they're following a very similar playbook. Cool, I'll build distribution on social media, and then I'll use that distribution to grow my business. Some of them more successful than others. Your biggest antagonist, though, has been John Matzner at Sagan. And John is as good of a troll as you are, I would say. You guys are both very good trolls. It's just one of you has the power dynamic that the other one doesn't have at the moment. I have no doubt the roles will reverse. It'd be like the same struggle, except you'd be doing the other role. My first question is, how do you, as someone who I've seen be like one of the most fiery people on Twitter, not engage with that? Like, how are you taking the high road in this conversation?
I honestly wanted to win, man. I really don't care. It's a massive, it's a massive,
that's the most alpha thing you could have said.
It's a massive market. It's a massive market. Every day I see another competitor that does very similar things to what Somewhere does, and they're twice as large as me. Then I talked to a guy like Jesse Tinsley, who I had a phone call with him a month ago, and he makes me feel small. He makes me feel like, holy shit, I'm small.
Yeah.
Talk to guys like Chris Powers and see what they're doing. Like, would I approach Twitter like John does? No. But look, man, he's a good dude. He's got a good team. I'm super thankful for the work he's done in his past, protecting us and our country. I hope he wins, man. I really do.
You just pulled the John Hamm meme when in Mad Men when he's in the elevator and the guy says something to him. He's like, I can't remember what the guy says. Something about like, I don't know why you think like that. And then John Hamm turns to him and he's like, I don't think about you at all. That's what you just did. I don't think about my competitors at all.
The thing about this, I follow my competitors very closely. This is a very hard business. I get 50,000 applicants a month, and 40,000 of them can't type over 30 words per minute. Can't work a remote job if you can't type 30 words per minute. So I have to do the work with a team of 20 people to figure out who's actually capable of working for a US based company. Our screening process is a ton of work. We're selling two sides. You got to sell clients and you got to sell candidates on taking the jobs. Recruiting is phenomenally difficult. If you want to do that yourself or hire an internal recruiter or post jobs on PH Jobs, like that's a great way to do it. Somewhere adds a ton of value, man. Like we add great people to companies. We stand by it for 6 months. Like we're gonna win. I hope a lot of other people win too, because ultimately the people who win are the business owners. My self-storage company, I spend 1.5 million a year on payroll to have a team of 50. That's less than 30,000 per head. My competitors in the United States running similar size self-storage portfolios are spending 5 million a year on overhead. 1.5 or 5 million. You tell me which business you'd rather run. It's a game changer. Dude, it's a game changer.
It's a total game changer. I have another friend who's gotten into this, Parker Cox. He has a company called Pavago. Their model's a little different. But he has said, and it's my favorite quote of Warren Buffett's, where Warren Buffett says, my favorite boat or my favorite wave to ride is one with a tailwind. So what Warren Buffett's saying is like any industry that I'm competing in, I want to be in one that's growing like crazy. The one that you're in right now is the wave is so big that a lot of people are able to ride it and a lot of people are going to be able to be successful, because even within outsourcing, some people are going to specialize just in sales. Some people are going to specialize just in training after they've actually onboarded. Some people are going to specialize in this industry. You know what I mean? Like there's a bunch of specialization that you can get into.
I think a lot of them are going to, like, this is a hot take. I think a lot of them are going to fail. It's a very hard business without, if we didn't have 40 leads a day coming in the door somewhere, it'd be really, 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 really hard to do this business. Recruiting is freaking hard. Like standing by these hires over time is hard. I talk to a lot of owners who are like, Nick, I want to sell you my agency. And I'm like, okay, what do you do? They're like, well, we have the Athena model. It's, we upcharge every hire. I'm like, how many do you have? 21. We have 21 contractors on. We have 80 grand a month of recurring revenue. We won $1 million. I'm like, good luck, man. Good luck. Good luck. Ton of competition in this space. And it's really hard. I had to rebuild the business to take it from 1 million a year capacity to now our goal in the next couple of months is 2 million a year, 2 million a month. Sorry, 1 million a month to 2 million a month. Taking a business from 1 million a month to 2 million a month, you need so much more. You need to totally
rebuild it again when you get to 5 million, and you constantly are rebuilding the business because what you did at X is not translating at Y.
So a lot of these operators who are in this space are they're not going to be able to do it. I'll tell you that. It's hard.
Dude, I totally agree. To me, it's very similar to trying to grow on social media, for example, where I think you just have to niche down. And most people don't want to do that. They want to be everything to everybody. If you're going to go into a space like this, carve out a really good niche. And then SaaS does this as well, land and expand. It's like, okay, pick out your niche and expand from there. You're different. You have a distribution channel, which most people don't have as a competitive advantage. So I think your strategy can be different because you have some scale. But if you were just getting into it, you can't be everything to everybody. All right, I want to switch a little bit. Your book. I'm excited to talk about this. I saw Sahil Bloom release his book a couple of months ago and was just blown away. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what voodoo he conjured, but it was like every person who had any influence was posting a picture or a quote or something from his book, right?
Sahil wrote an excellent book and he ran a masterful launch campaign, and he's connected to anybody who is everybody because he's such a likable, awesome dude. You can't replicate what Sahil did. Like to get to number 2 on the New York Times bestseller list as a first book behind Mel Robbins, who was selling like any other week during any other year. Sahil's a number 1 New York Times bestseller in his first release. The fact that he didn't get there because of Mel Robbins on a heater is unique. The book business is hard, and Sahil, yeah, man, like he worked his ass off to write a great book, and it's going to change his life forever.
Now, obviously, you were already writing this book before Sahil released it, and you and Sahil probably talked about the fact that you're both writing books. But
yeah, we both have the same. We're good friends. We have the same agent. Like we use different, publishers. But he used Penguin. I used HarperCollins.
you didn't use a ghostwriter though.
I had an editor that helped me, but
Sure.
I wrote every word. Yeah, I tried the ghostwriter at first. This is my legacy, man. Like it's mine. So I'm not going to do that.
Well, that's what I'm going to ask. Why write a book? You got all these other things going right now. Like you just bought somewhere.
I originally decided to write a book because, well, it was 2 years ago that I originally decided to write a book, and I thought it was going to be easy. I was wrong.
Dude. that could be the on the tombstone of every entrepreneur. Hey, why'd you start this business? I thought it was going to be easy.
I'm just cocky enough, man, that I think I can do everything. And it was a humbling experience, but I'm so glad I did it. I am phenomenally happy with how it came out. It tells not only my story, but the story of 40 plus other entrepreneurs to get key lessons apart. And people read too much bullshit about trying to change the world. This is a tactical book to make more money and to build a sustainable company. So I'm
What
proud
does
of
it
it.
focus on? Talk about like what the actual focus of the book is.
Yeah, it's got 3 parts. The first part is, what opportunity do you chase? How to figure out what business you want to go after. Second part is like the key skills that you need: hiring, making decisions, delegation, sales. And then the last part is people, hiring, how to get people to follow you, what to look for in people, because you can't do it alone. And to get leverage, you have to hire and build teams. So the last part's all about that.
So writing a book was probably probably wasn't the best time to write it. Did you find it helpful though?
Oh my gosh. I'm so glad I did it. It made me better as a person. It humbled me. And it also gave me like nowhere is there really an organized, structured mind dump of mine of how I feel about everything.
The Huber playbook, right?
Everything I feel about, from what business to start, to how to go after opportunities, to how to do all these business things, to how to live a good life and how to be a good parent. Like the last chapter is not business related. It's literally me telling people that they need to have kids and telling people how to raise their kids and telling people, what other things you need to focus on to be an effective person.
There are 3 reasons I started this podcast. The first reason was a journal for my kids. The second reason was to meet cool people. And the third reason was to learn about cool businesses. I feel that's how I feel about this podcast is like, at some point, they're going to feed all these into an LLM, and my kids are going to be able, and my grandkids are going to be able to talk to, 39-year-old Nick, who's still making penis jokes, and like hear from him and what he was like and how he thought about things. This is a much better way to capture it. But I've found in writing in particular, you can just codify your thinking a lot more. It's like, yeah, how do I think about choosing an opportunity? How do I think about hiring and firing and onboarding and delegating and all of those things, which I'm assuming was actually really good for you as you're in the midst of trying to rebuild somewhere, to have this format of like forcing you to think about, okay, what are my non-negotiables? Because ultimately it just benefited you.
You want to learn something, teach it. Like it's so freaking true. Like I got organized with my own thoughts, my own priorities, and my own principles. Like it's really hard to do the work to figure out how you actually think about things. Most people just get on Twitter and think about things just like how their favorite influencer thinks about things. To do the work is different.
What's the name of your book?
It's called The Sweaty Startup: How to Get Rich Doing Boring Things. Came out this week. So
my affiliate link's in the bio that Nick's going to pay me handsomely for. I'm just kidding. But yeah, we'll have a link in the bio.